Welcome, Internet, to the PixelPlay Podcast, your weekly, some might say, greatest gaming podcast of all time. Who are those people? I don't know, but I'm sure someone's saying it somewhere, and we appreciate it. I am one of your hosts, Kaylan, aka Catastrophe, joined as always by my co-hosts, Adam, CS Radical, and Chris at Jin and Chris. This week we're going to be doing some talking about the PlayStation event occurring in less than 24 hours at the time of recording. You probably almost live by the time you're listening to this podcast, or maybe you have if you're one of the later listeners. And we're also going to be talking about franchises we'd like to see rebooted, a la Mortal Kombat 1. With that being said, I have a question for you guys. Have neither of you guys ever had a sore throat? I was listening to last week's podcast, and you guys were like, Kaylan says he's got a burning throat, or his throat's on fire. And you guys were talking like I was weird for saying that. Have you guys never had a sore throat? Like sore throats burn, don't they?
They do. I think we were just teasing you because it's fun to do that.
Fair enough.
That was me. Maybe Adam is actually impervious to sickness and has never actually felt sickness before.
I don't know what you're talking about. My voice is impeccable.
I feel like my voice still has a little bit of like the sound. Like I'm coming off of a cold, and then I had a wedding this weekend, so like it's just not been good for my voice. Or I've got that deep, sultry podcasting voice. Welcome to the PixelPlay Podcast.
I was gonna say it's working for you for sure. It's like that episode of Friends where Phoebe gets sick and she's like the best singer now because of it. So I think it's working for you.
I mean, depending on how sick I am, like I sometimes get full on like Michael Keaton Batman voice. It's fucking weird.
I was surprised because I was listening to the podcast last week and you guys were talking about it, and you're like, man, Kaylan says he has like his throat's burning, and like you were talking like it was like some new marvel in medicine that like, oh, we got to get a sample of this because no one's ever had a burning throat before.
Look, the solution is you just don't get sick and we don't make fun of you.
I'm sorry, I have a 3-year-old who's in daycare, or as I call it, the bio lab. They've got like diseases you've never even heard of.
Look, that sounds like a choice you made.
Yeah, it kind of is. Parents out there know what I'm talking about. Yeah, we call our daycare the bio lab just because the stuff that gets brought home from
I'm sorry, do you hear that? That's right, nothing, because there's nothing yelling in the background here.
So, gentlemen, let's save the media topic. Let's save the PlayStation for the latter half. I feel like that is the bread and butter of this podcast episode. What quickly have you guys been playing? I'm still working on Jedi Survivor. I think I'm getting close to the end, but I am absolutely loving it. The only gripe, and I'm sure, Chris, you and I will probably do a segment when I'm actually done. The big grip I have for it, and there's no spoilers here, is I just wish that there was more places to visit. I feel like I'm jumping from the same 2.5 places, from mission to mission, and it's getting kind of repetitive. I kind of wish that there was smaller worlds and more of them.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that point because I felt the same thing. And I was replaying in my head, like with Jedi Fallen Order, wasn't there like everything was smaller and there was more of them?
Yeah,
because I feel like
5 or 6. There's like 5 that you're bouncing between, and then there was like one I think at the end that you kind of went for like the end of the game.
Yeah. Definitely. This one feels like they went with less worlds and much bigger because I could definitely feel like the collectathon on like one planet in this one being like a lot, where I never felt that with Fallen Order, because if I did one planet at a time, I never felt like one planet was like overwhelming where it's like, oh, there's just too much to explore or too much to find here. It was like that sweet spot where that was just enough, where this one, not so much.
I think for me, the problem is just the lack of a variety. Like you're basically either in a forest planet or you're in a desert planet. And it's like, okay, that's kind of like Coruscant was cool to see, but that's like short-lived. And so far, there's been no reason to return to it yet. And then there's like the moon that you go to, which is kind of boring. I don't know. I kind of wish there was like more like, hey, like here's the ice level. Here's like, I don't know, Mustafar or something like that. Like, I just feel like it's Star Wars and you can only think of 2. And like, once again, we're back on a desert planet in Star Wars. Like, come on. But I'm loving it. I did have a funny bug though. It's been performing great. Like I think that the hate that it's been getting is a little overrated or whatever. But there was a part where I was doing a cutscene and I was talking to Grease in the cockpit, and it would cut to him talking, and then it would cut to Cal, and in the background they had Grease doing something behind in the kitchen, and it just felt like something you would see in like like low budget TV show, like they weren't paying attention, and like the extras back there making a cup of coffee, and yeah, it was kind of funny because it'd be like I'm clearly having a conversation, like Grease is talking to me, I'm talking to him. Grease is there, looks back at me. Grease is now behind me by like 50 feet. I
Yeah,
thought that was
that
really funny.
I know the exact cutscene because that's exactly what happened to me too. It's
Oh,
like,
okay,
wait,
so it
I'm
wasn't just me.
talking to this person.
Yeah.
Why is he all of a sudden in the background also cooking? Why is he here twice? What's going on?
You sure
Yeah,
that's
that
not
is-
just canon?
Oh, there's multiple Greases.
Yeah.
Oh, there's some
Oh.
deep-seated lore here.
Yeah, it's we're now getting into the multiverse of Star Wars. Adam, what have you been up to? What have you been playing? I know it's been a week since like we didn't chat last week. What have you been up to?
I finally got around to trying Trails in the Sky, the Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky. So I finally got around to playing the beginning of the entire arc that I played through the 4 Cold Steel games of. I was telling Chris about it because I know he's really interested in starting that, and he wants to start it from scratch where I'm at now. It's one of those games where I love the game for the same reason I like Cold Steel. The world building is really good. The characters are really well done. The battle system I still think is great. But since this is an older game, I think it was originally on the PSP when it came to us the first time. It's a JRPG from the older days, aka it's a much bigger piece of shit to you. It is not nearly as nice. So in most games, you can overpower things pretty well. I mean, in Cold Steel, you never technically can over level because eventually XP does kind of go away. Like it scales based on your level. So if you're higher than the level, I think of like most of the enemies in the area, you're going to start getting less and less XP to the point that you start making almost nothing. But the quartz or materia, for those who are more in need of Final Fantasy speak, the things you can set on your characters generally can push you over the edge. Where I'm at in Trails in the Sky, there's not really that possibility. You just have spells. That's all you have. You don't have anything, like you have a couple of status effect dealing things, but it's always 10%, so it's not exactly going to make or break a battle. Whereas, like, I was telling Chris this example, so I'll tell you the same thing, Kaylan. By the end of Cold Steel 1, because I just finished that too, because I've also been playing that as well in preparation of the next game coming out in July, I had a character who his main gimmick is that every time he kills something, he gains skill points back. And depending on how many enemies you kill, you might be able to completely re-get all the skill points you spent to do that skill and just one-shot everything, and you didn't cost you anything. And I got to a point where I could do that, and I also had a quartz that would allow me that the first attack that character does is doubled. So I could just walk up to a group of 5 enemies, hit the skill, watch all of them die, and I make my skill points back. Trails in the Sky doesn't have this at all. And in fact, the XP scaling is much more aggressive. So you're almost not able to grind. If you gain like 1 level in an area, there's a pretty good chance you're not going to want to gain any more levels there because you're probably already too over-leveled for it. So in a way, the game is designed so that you're going to have to stay on your toes. You're going to have to actually, make some intelligent decisions, which as a JRPG gamer is not what I want because I'm not playing on Nightmare difficulty. Thank you very much. But it's mostly fair enough that you can get by as long as you save up your skill energy and you have enough to do like a much more stronger attacks early on. The only problem that I have is that they have an issue, in my opinion, with agility, in that if you walk into a fight, even if they're easier enemies, if there's 7 enemies and you have 3 party members, you may not lose the fight, but you're going to lose more than half of your HP just on the basis you can't kill them fast enough. So there's a point where it feels like it almost feels unfair to you. And then you'll go into a boss, and I don't know if it's the AI intentionally, but they will hard target somebody and not stop. And the game will give them 2 turns instead of 1. You don't have time to heal them because they're just like, you, fuck you, die. And you're like, that's great. That was my healer. What am I supposed to do now? Items are really expensive in this game. I don't have that many items to use. What am I to do now? There's not even a spell I can use to revive them yet. I have to use these items that I don't have too many of. Great! That's what I want. So I've been fighting that here and there. At least it's nice for the most part, especially with monster chests, because monster chests can tend to be pretty stupid. You can save and run from the chest fight and just reset your save back to where it was. So you can just quickly go back to it. Boss battles is a little bit different. You'll have to go through the cutscene. There's no cutscene skips. You're just going to be hammering the A button until you get through it, which is a shame, but it's an older game. You don't exactly have the skip button on every single one of these. But as it stands, like, I finished the first 3 chapters. Technically, it's 2 chapters because they don't count the prologue as a chapter, but it's a prologue in chapters 1 and 2. And it's really good. And as someone who's played a much more in the future game, it's kind of interesting now, though I've never played Trails in the Sky before, to actually go into it with some knowledge. So at least I'm going like, oh, hey, I know where you're gonna be in 5 games. But it's still interesting to kind of go back and be like, oh, so that's why you're this way. Okay, I see what's going on here. And then also, like, I'm kind of spoiled because I know literally what happens at the end of the first game. So I'm like, I'm playing the first game going, you're not fooling me, game. I'm not stupid. I've read the script. You're not fooling me on this. But it is what it is about when you're talking about a game that's more than 10 years old. It's just kind of inevitable. It's like anybody playing Final Fantasy VII, the original, for the first time. No matter what you've done, you probably know that Aerith is dying, okay?
Wow, spoilers.
I'm not apologizing. Now, we'll get into that conversation when we potentially talk about the showcase, where we go into Rebirth potentially, but hey, I'll save that for later. But yeah, I'm probably a quarter or a third the way through the first Trails in the Sky game, and it's really good, though it shows its age, and definitely how in the time it was definitely geared towards being a little bit more for hardcore JRPG guys, because it's definitely a lot harder. But it's not to the point that it's taking me away from it so much as I'm just getting a little bit cranky in a few spots, but that's about it.
Yeah, that game does not sound like it's for me at all.
You don't sound like a JRPG guy to begin with.
No, and this does not sell me on it.
Look,
Chris,
this is not the Kaylan game. No.
Look,
I'm not into JRPGs, and this is not going to win me over.
Oh, that's the wrong way. I'll scoot on this side of the screen, and it'll be fine.
Chris, what about you? What have you been playing? Tears of the Kingdom?
So I finished Jedi Survivor. I got through the whole thing. I did all the meaningful side quests and got all the trophies I wanted to get. I'm proud of myself for actually stopping with a couple of the collectathon trophies that are like, find one of every single one of this one mineral on this one planet, like that kind of stuff. I was like, okay, like I got like 47 more to go, and they're all in like really hard to find. I don't want to do this anymore. So I was proud of myself for that. But otherwise, like the game itself, amazing. Like it was amazing the whole way through. Loved that. But yes, I did switch over to Tears of the Kingdom. I actually had finished Jedi Survivor and the Burning Shores DLC for Horizon. Adam, just like you, I did the main story. I loved the main story quests and stuff, but I didn't really do anything side quest wise or like find all this extra like little stuff, like the new again.
I'm pretty sure half of that map is still undiscovered by me in that game.
Yeah, same. Actually, very much same. But I did love the actual continued story and stuff. I forgot how pretty, like Kaylan, I think you had said this like a couple of podcasts ago, like how pretty that game is. And it was funny because coming from Jedi Survivor, I was like, oh, now that I'm on quality mode, this actually looks really good on the PS5 and everything. And then I went to Burning Shores and I'm like, damn, what the hell? This game is beautiful. Like, it's insane just how good that game looks. Obviously optimized for the PS5, but yeah, runs. I do the 60 frames per second, and it like at no point am I like, oh, I'm missing out on the pretty graphics because it's set to 60 frames. Like, man, that game just is beautiful to look at. I took so many screenshots. I went into photo mode way too often. I was like, man, I'm not getting anywhere. But yes, I did switch over to Tears of the Kingdom. I'm not very far in it just because I was finishing Jedi Survivor and ended up putting like close to 40 hours in that, and then Burning Shores and stuff. I wanted to make sure they were out of the way because I knew once I was in Zelda, I was gonna be stuck there for a while. Yeah, I'd say I'm about 4 hours in, like past that initial like tutorial island that they always have and the intro and all that kind of stuff. And the game is for me, because I loved Breath of the Wild, like beautiful and it runs flawlessly. For like a Switch game, obviously, when I say flawlessly, there's no like 60 FPS mode or something like that. But the game runs flawlessly. It sounds amazing because it's got the same kind of like super chill soundtrack. And it's just that addicting gameplay of like, all right, there's a shrine there. I got to get to it. How do I get there? And you just kind of like use the tools that's given to you. This game, I would definitely say if anybody had any gripes with like traversing the land in the first game, this one has stuff that makes it a little bit easier. And this isn't spoilers or anything, but Breath of the Wild was very much just here's Hyrule, and now they've added kind of like floating islands. And
There's Hyrule.
Yeah, there's high rule, and then there's low rule, and then there's Ja rule. No, yeah, there's like an underground area. I haven't really gotten there or anything yet, but apparently it's like basically the map is now tripled because you're in Hyrule, you can go down at any point, and then those sky islands you can go up pretty much all over Hyrule. They are there, but right off the bat they give you some stuff. Like one ability which you see in the trailers, it just lets you teleport one floor up. As long as there is a solid floor above you and it lets you know like red or green, like yes, you can use this move, you just teleport up one floor to get there. And it's super, super convenient when dealing with stuff like towers or like there's a mountain you need to climb, but then you notice one piece of the mountain sticks out a bit over there and you're like, oh, I wonder, oh, I don't need to climb this mountain. I can just use this. So it's kind of like, it is very much like a sandbox feel to it where there's multiple ways to do stuff and it really is up to you. And it's extremely sandboxy with the building mechanic that you've seen in all the trailers too. I've already been using that and playing around with it. It's insane that the stuff you can just make and it like works as intended. You'd think it wouldn't, but like they must have programmed it stuff where they knew kind of stuff people were going to build. I built like gliders where I threw a fan on the back and I was like, screw it. I don't even want to run across this island. I'm going to fly. And then I did. Like it's just you can do all this crazy stuff as long as you find stuff lying around. But even then, it's like you need a log to build a raft, cut down 3 trees. All the trees you would have normally seen in Breath in the Wild, you can cut those down now. It doesn't even look like you can, but then you just do. But yeah, like even just the story, like from what it is, there is a lot more story, and this is a lot more linear compared to Breath of the Wild. It's still very open world sandbox, even compared to like a lot of like open world games like an Assassin's Creed or something. At least their main missions are like, hey, go here and do this. This has actually got some of that, which is a lot different from before, where it was like, all right, so you're in Hyrule, there's probably a village you need to go to and 4 dungeons, figure it out. Here it's like, okay, you need to go speak to this very specific person. This is your next task. It's just that as you're on your way to that task, you're like, is that a shrine? Oh, is that something I can climb? Oh, what is that? I should go look at it. And it's like you keep getting distracted, but you want to. It's not like you feel you have to because of like, oh, there's collectibles I need. It's like, no, I might find a piece of equipment that makes it where I can withstand cold more. So if I want to climb a cold mountain, I no longer have to worry about cooking specific berries that give me 10 minutes of cold resistance or whatever. Like, yeah. And they, again, got rid of that. Like, it's still in the game. One of the shrines, like right at the beginning, had you quickly cook and do that to teach you cooking. As soon as you got up there, you found a pair of pants that immediately just made it that you didn't have to do any more cooking. So they like, it's almost like they're poking at what you knew from the last game. And they're like, hey, you're probably used to this. Here's some pants you don't need to deal with anymore. Hey, you probably were used to climbing all the time. Here's a new power, which lets you just jump up and go up one floor. So it's kind of like it's still there. You could do it the old way if you want, but obviously it's just they're right away tackling some of the stuff that was probably annoying in the first game.
See, you're kind of like selling on me because like when it came out and I was talking about this on our Discord. By the way, check out our Discord link tree to /PixelPlay Podcast. Or sorry, Pixel Podcast, whatever. The thing I had with Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is I hated that game. Like I tried so hard. I played like 20 hours of it. Like I did all the dungeons and then I'm like, I'm gonna go fight, I don't know, Ganon or whoever the hell it is at the top of the castle. long story short, I got my ass kicked, and I'm like, oh, okay, you clearly want me to go and screw around for another 20 hours to get myself prepared for this. I'm not doing that. And I just noped out. The problem I felt with Breath of the Wild, I'm not going to go into a whole spiel of Breath of the Wild, but like, I felt that was a game where they drop you in a high roll and they're like, have fun. And I'm like, doing what? And they're like, having fun. And it was like, there wasn't much there. I felt like cool mechanics and cool ideas, but nothing done with them. Sure, I can go do shrines, but I felt like those weren't really rewarding. I hated the weapon degradation. I know you can get like the sword and the shield, and then they don't, but then they broke, and you have to like use your other garbage stuff for 20 minutes, and it like I just felt that like it was a neat idea with not a lot of meat on the bones. If someone doesn't like Breath of the Wild, should they explore Tears of the Kingdom, or is it more of the same? And if you didn't like Breath of the Wild, you're not going to like this one.
I think so. It's definitely improved a lot. There's more dungeons. There's not as much open. Like it's just as open.
It's still open. Yeah.
It's 3 times more open now because there's like 3 different areas to explore. But the actual main quests are a lot more linear. That's what I've noticed so far. I am only 4 hours in, but even from other people that I know that have it and have been playing it, they've kind of been saying the same thing. And this game even has side quests now. So like I was like they have I won't spoil anything, but obviously it's very similar.
Zelda's in the game. Yep. Got it.
Zelda's in the game. Yeah. It's kind of like, all right, so intro to the game, you end up on a tutorial island, typical Nintendo fashion. They don't tell you what to do. It's just like, hey, there's 3 shrines, you got to get to it, and each one's in cold. One you kind of need to kind of build something to get there. Like it teaches you the new mechanics right away, and it's like, okay, cool, now you're on Hyrule. Thanks for playing our tutorial. But once you land on Hyrule, it's linear as hell because you drop down and it's like, all right, first thing is you should check in with the people that you know, because it's a direct sequel to Breath of the Wild, so characters from that game and everything are there. But again, that's not a big deal because even Nintendo put out a 7-minute recap of the last game that just gives you the important story points, and then you're good to play this game. Like honestly, it covers it. I watched it real quick because it's been 6 years.
7 minutes, and it covers the important. There's not even 7 minutes of important content on there. Like there's not much in that game.
It's basically the people you meet, the characters you had to meet to open the 4 dungeons that existed in Breath of the Wild. It's those story points of meeting those 4 people, then facing the final boss, and then like the final version of the boss, and then the ending. Like it's really is just like that. It's very straightforward. This game already has pretty much more story than the previous game already. Because you land and off the tutorial island, and it's like, all right, go to this village and check in with the people you already know. You get to that village. Okay, cool. We're trying to investigate what happened in the intro, and I won't spoil anything, but go speak to the captain over there. Go talk to him. And then you make your way over there. And again, it sounds like it's just like move from point to point. It is a lot more interesting than I'm making it sound. And it just happens to be that along the way you see a shrine, and I was like, oh my God, I want to do that shrine. And it teaches, and usually it's like using a mechanic, or it's using a specific type of battle, like using some of the mechanics for actual melee combat, or using the bow or something. But then you go there and it's like, all right, let's head back, let's do this next thing. Okay, let's introduce where you can rest and you can shop and everything here, because now this is kind of like a hub that you can come back to, which again Breath of the Wild didn't have. So like they're kind of introducing more common things from open world games that weren't in Breath of the Wild. But also it still holds that if you wanted to just go explore, build stuff, find random things, you absolutely can. It just is a little bit more linear. If you really hated Breath of the Wild, I think it would depend on what. If it was like, the game is okay, I just wish it was more linear, this game might be something you'd actually enjoy. If you still hate that the weapons break, that still happens in this game. If you still hate the stamina bar that you have to improve over time, that is still there. If you hate The Legend of Zelda, where you start with 3 hearts and need to work your way up by getting heart containers, obviously you're going to hate this game too, because it's going to have that. But again, I feel like they have improved on it a lot, that some people might be swayed to enjoy it more, because like with the weapons breaking, I remember when I first started Breath of the Wild, I was looking for weapons in the beginning. I kept running like low on them. In this one, I was on the tutorial island and I already had to drop like 4 weapons to pick up 4 better ones. like just from one battle, and these enemies dropped 4 weapons, way better than I had, and I dropped 4 things and picked up 4 new things. And I've been at max weapons already. I know you can like expand on that later, but I mean, I'm walking around with like 10 different swords or clubs or axes or whatever it may be. So it definitely is improved, but again, it really does depend on what you don't like about Breath of the Wild. Still very open, still when you're outside of the hubs will feel still a bit empty compared to like Jedi Survivor. There's a lot more enemies and stuff as you're going around. This one is a little more calming, where it's like this forest and then all of a sudden there's these 4 or 5 enemies patrolling that you'll run into. Like they don't have enemies as often. They don't have people as often, but they have multiple village hubs now that you actually go to, can rest, fill up your hearts, do shopping, pick up side quests, you know, all that kind of stuff. It even seems like the towers, like I remember in the last game, in order like Assassin's Creed style, climb a super tall tower. I think that might even be changed too, because I'm at the first one and it seems like it's something that you can just activate when you find it. Like I don't know if you have to necessarily climb all of them, but I can't confirm that because I'm only at like the first one, and this one might just be kind of a gimme. But again, they have like all the different traversal, like just climb up one floor and all that kind of stuff. So it might be different the way you climb it.
Cool.
Yeah, so it is tough. I still don't think that if there's somebody who really hated Breath of the Wild, that this may be like the best game they've ever played, because it is still very open and all that kind of stuff. But if there was only some gripes you had with Breath of the Wild, you know, like it not being linear enough, not enough dungeons, and not enough like actual people and village hubs and cities and stuff to explore, those have been improved a lot, like a lot. And I'm enjoying this way more. Breath of the Wild, it took me like a long time before it clicked. And then this one, it clicked instantly because all of the gripes I had from the beginning of Breath of the Wild, gone. Like just, They got rid of it right away. So I don't know. It's still kind of up in the air, and I wish Nintendo kind of had a demo.
Literally.
That was like 4 hours long, because even the first 2 hours is the tutorial island. And that really isn't when, like, it was good, but it like got real good once you land down in Hyrule, and it's like, all right, mission time. Let's start doing all these main quests and getting the story going.
Cool. Yeah, you kind of sold me on it. I think I might check it out. Probably not right away, but eventually.
Yeah, there's a way to rent it or borrow it or something. I don't know. That would be key, because even if just trying it for a day for 4 or 5 hours or a weekend, that would be the best way, I would say.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna do. Pivoting into the this week's topics, let's start real quick with what might be a little bit of a shorter one. So we got an announcement that Mortal Kombat is rebooting again. We're going back to Mortal Kombat 1.
Stupidest name.
Really? I don't think it's that bad.
I hate it. I'm really sick and tired of games doing the, or even with like Xbox doing the same thing. I don't understand why you're going to 1. It's not the original. Stop doing that. If it's a sales thing that's working, I'm really mad at us for making that possible. But like, to me, if you're rebooting Mortal Kombat for the 3rd time as well, you can just call it Mortal Kombat something. Mortal Kombat 1 just doesn't feel right, especially, like, I'm sure to new players, they don't give a shit, but like, if you've been there since the very beginning, you've played Mortal Kombat 1 and 2 and 3, and technically you've played Mortal Kombat 1 again already, except that was Mortal Kombat 9, but they didn't put a number next to it. So like, it's, to me, it's just an OCD thing where I just go, no, it's not. It's not 1. It's 12. Stop lying to me. I'm not stupid.
See, I'm of the opposite. I think it's really smart to do it this way. Like, I think you have problems where, like, how do you distinguish that this is sort of a jumping in entry for someone who's not into, or who hasn't played Mortal Kombat for a while? And like, I think of something like, do you call it just like Mortal Kombat whatever, like Mortal Kombat Origins or something? But like, that doesn't even mean anything anymore, because we have like Assassin's Creed Origins, and that is not a reboot. That's like,
well, I think because my argument is like, what do you call the next game after this? Mortal Kombat 2?
Whatever the hell you want to call it. But I think having that denotion, like, because Mortal Kombat, the first Mortal Kombat wasn't called Mortal Kombat 1. It was just called Mortal Kombat, right? So we don't technically have a Mortal Kombat 1.
But we can also decipher that it was 1 because the follow-up to it was 2. So you kind of just make that inference, right?
You're making an inference, though. It's not called Mortal Kombat 1. It's Mortal Kombat and Mortal Kombat 2. Now we have Mortal Kombat 1 in that if I'm new to the franchise, I can say, oh, Mortal Kombat 1, like this is a starting point. From there on, you can call it Mortal Kombat, whatever the hell you want to call it. Except 2, because we already have that. But like the idea is it denotes that this is a starting point for it. In the same way that like if you look at something like Doom 2016, like Doom 2016 is a terrible name. Like they call it just Doom because it was once again a reboot of it. And no offense, it's a terrible name because now we don't have Doom 1, we have Doom 2016. And if they had called it Mortal Kombat, whatever, like Mortal Kombat with no 1, we would have just been like, oh, 2023 or like Mortal Kombat 2023 or 23 or something like that. I think having the name, while kind of stupid, like it's not the most original name, it's a good way to kind of denote like, hey, this is a new saga, like the same way that comic books do. Like, hey, we're starting over. The previous lore doesn't matter. Like Mortal Kombat 1 to 11 doesn't matter. Like you don't need to know that lore. Like this is a fresh point. And I think that's the name isn't that bad, personally.
Look, dude, does it really matter in the end? No. Like I said, it's literally just an OCD thing. And but let's be honest, it wasn't done out of any creativity thing. It was done as a sales thing. It's done as a marketing thing. That's all 100%. It is. And I'm tired of that happening because it means it works, and I don't like that works. It shouldn't work. We should look at that and go, that's not the first one. Like, Xbox One, to this day, is one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. And yet, of course, it sold well, so what do I know? But, yeah, that's why I'm not making the big bucks naming things. I'm just like, here on a podcast and yelling at things. That's my job.
I don't know. Like, I don't think anyone's going to buy Mortal Kombat 1 and then be disappointed that it's not the 1994
I'm not saying it's
version.
going to be a disappointing game because of the name. I'm just saying the name is dumb. That's all I'm saying.
I think they should have named it Mortal Kombat 360, and then the next one could have been Mortal Kombat Series K.
That makes sense. Seeing Mortal Kombat get rebooted, like I think Mortal Kombat is due for a reboot because that lore is just getting way too convoluted. Like I've dropped out a long time ago. I don't care. Like I am OG. Like Mortal Kombat 3, the one that was on the N64. Like that's pretty much where I.
4.
Like, thank you. That's where I peaked. Where you had like the 32 or 40 characters or whatever. Where you started getting like the robots and stuff. Like that's pretty much where I was like, I'm good here. Like this is, I'm out. I'm exiting off the ramp. Like
it's a pretty telltale sign that whoever is working as the writer at NetherRealm needs to be cut because this is the third time they've had to reset the universe in this series, and the game is legitimately just supposed to be ninjas like ripping each other's limbs off. Like that. Let's not kid ourselves. That's really what this game is. And yet they've done such a horrible job at keeping a universe around that they've now had to reboot it again because for some reason they thought, hey, let's bring the series back with Mortal Kombat 9. And then in the following game, they're like, hey, let's start killing people off. And it's
I think, Adam, I think the opposite. I think we need to give like an award to like the writers at NetherRealm because they have somehow made 11 games, not including the spin-offs, and yet have somehow made a whole lore about, hey, these guys are fighting these guys, and like they've held it together with so many characters so many times. And like it's Mortal Kombat. Like it's not like they're writing like Shakespearean level like drama.
Then the argument is why bother rebooting? Because it's not like the story matters.
And that's exactly the thing. I don't think it does matter. It's like, sure, cool, we're starting over. These guys hate those guys. Why? Shut up. It doesn't matter. Go kill them.
Yeah,
well, I mean, the mistake they made is that with 11, they were like, all right, time travel. And we're like, oh, God damn it.
How is it that time travel is the thing that like you draw the line at? It's Mortal Kombat. You've got
no, it's because time travel that's why everything got screwed up and they had to reboot it because literally the end of the game is they went back and reversed everything. So and they have to reboot it because now everything's fine.
Yeah.
I think that's why they did the time travel. Yeah. They're like, we got to reboot this. How do we do it so we don't upset the people who like the lore?
And they only got through 3 games to do it. They like that's the crazy part. They only made it 3 games before they had to do it again? You guys literally rebooted it with Mortal Kombat 9, refreshed stories 1, 2, and 3, and stories I use loosely because it's Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and 3. They didn't have stories. There was just walls of text that were sort of implying things were happening in the background. So they redid that, and then Mortal Kombat X came out, they started killing people off, and then Mortal Kombat 11, and they were just like, time travel!
Yeah.
I love the
they
fact
could've
that like
yeah.
it makes no sense. Like there's like Mortal Kombat lore is just ridiculous. So you've got like dimensional fighting tournament where you've got literally people who are skeletons shooting ice out of their hands. Like you've got all that, and then you've got basically Dave Bautista, and somehow he's holding his own in this tournament. Like Johnny Cage.
You're
is
right.
like,
Dave Bautista should be Jax.
I mean, no, I was going with he was Johnny Cage. Like if you think about it, he literally is.
Dave
Like,
Bautista is too big for Johnny Cage.
I'm saying from a profession standpoint, if you think about it, like they're basically Hollywood actors who I assume have some level of fighting, and are big Hollywood actors, and that to me is Dave Bautista. Like he did UFC, he's a famous movie star. Like he's basically Johnny Cage. Like I don't even know if like someone like maybe like Danny Yang, maybe I don't know. Like, but it's just like no way
Jean-Claude
those.
Van Damme, but they already used him as Guile for Street Fighter, so they can't.
So I was thinking with Mortal Kombat getting rebooted, are there any other games that you feel need to hit the reset button? And I have one candidate. I think there's one prime candidate that needs to have a full out reboot.
Now, are we talking reboot
Assassin's
as like
Creed.
it's active, or are we talking anything that just needs like to get like somebody to either hit the restart button just at all?
No, I'm not talking about like, hey, let's get this franchise up and running. We're not resuscitating it. We're like, this one needs to hit reset. All the canon's gone. We're starting fresh. And for me, that's Assassin's Creed. I think Assassin's Creed has just
that was I had
way
two, and
too
that
big
was
and bloated.
one of my two. Like, holy crap, what the hell's going on anymore?
It's so convoluted and like ridiculous. They just need, and I've always said this. If they said, hey, Kaylan, we're throwing you a bunch of money. How do we make Assassin's Creed good? Because I think they were saying that they're leaning on Assassin's Creed to like revive Ubisoft. And I'd say like, get rid of all the stupid precursor, whatever, alien time travel 2012 bullshit. Get rid of all that and literally just make it like, hey, there is a secret organization that fights another secret organization in some sort of shadow war. These are the stories. And you can have like back and forth where it's just like, hey, remember this thing that you learned in history class? It was actually a secret war that was going on between the Templars and the Assassins. And like,
that was
that's
so
all it
good
is.
back then. When that's all it was. Like, yeah, it had the like 2012 stuff. But that was interesting just because they did have a small story that was like 5 minutes each time, just in the original games. After that, it went fucking AWOL. But it was like, there was Assassins and Templars, and in history, these two organizations actually existed. Of course, they embellished it to the hell, where it's like it's actually been since the dawn of time. Adam and Eve.
They go by different names. Like no, don't even do the Adam and Eve. We're cutting that too. That's gone too. It's literally just, hey, there is these two organizations. One is about control and stability. One is about freedom and chaos. That's all it is. And they go by different names at different points in history. You've got Assassins. You've got Templars. You could have like, I don't know, like the French Revolution. You could have like, I forget, pirates and privateers or something like that. You could have like revolutionaries versus like redcoats. Like these two groups go by different names at any time, but they're always in the background pulling strings. That's all it needs to be.
Just twisting with history and making it about you being an assassin in that history. Because that's what everybody loved about the original games. Like you'd meet Leonardo da Vinci and he helped you make a freaking glider to get into the Templar castle. Like that was the moments that made it so good. So I completely agree. This one just needs reset and make it about those two groups again and just tell those random stories. Because then you could just pick random moments in history that are kind of cool. There's a lot of it and just make it around that.
Well, isn't it like it's bonkers that we still have this whole like end of the world stuff from 2012? That was 10 years ago and nothing happened. Turns out the Mayans just kind of like gave up on the calendar. It wasn't actually prophesizing anything.
Turns out people thousands of years ago weren't amazing as math we thought they were.
No, they were. They were. We just
not
like, conquistadors just wiped them out. That was the thing. You know what stopped the clock from making the next one? Conquistadors. That's what it was.
It's a calendar. It just goes back to January.
If you go to like Calendar Incorporated and like they shut down tomorrow, guess what? There's no calendars for 2024. And it's not like it's going to be like in 1,000 years. People are like, oh, the people of 2023 in their wisdom knew that the world was ending in 2024. Like, no.
It's like, no, we ran out of paper.
Exactly. Cut all the trees down. What about you guys? What's like a franchise you think needs to like not resuscitate? We're not making new games. We're just hitting reset. We're dropping all the canon, all the lore, and we're starting from scratch. We're taking the idea and we're starting at ground zero.
Here's the problem. I don't know if there's a lot of games that fall into that category, because a lot of the games that I think could work for it aren't really games that are like overarching stories. Like, does Call of Duty need a reset? I don't know if that really does anything. I was originally going to say Mass Effect, but I'm like, it hasn't really done enough to really require one. It just have one really shitty game. You could go into games like Mega Man, but Mega Man doesn't I mean, it has a story, but it doesn't, like, nobody really, like, not that many people pay attention to it. So it's kind of hard to go too deep into it, because how many games are like severely lacking in a cohesive story and just need to have a reset button pushed on them? That's not as easy. But then I flipped my thought processing and went, wait, this is the only way that these games can be good, like maybe half decent again for one instance. So there's my way. Madden, you need a reset. So they need to build the game from scratch again, so they can't copy and paste it. So we force EA to erase all of their work that they've done on it, so they have to start from scratch. It's the only way. It's still going to be a piece of shit that you're going to be spending a shit ton of money on, but it might be a functional piece of shit that you still have to spend a lot of money on. Honestly, though, when I really sit down and think about it, I don't know if I can think of anything, because, like, I mean, I could say Final Fantasy just because I hate the direction it's gone in, but that's not really a reboot. It's just wanting a Final Fantasy game that's rebuilt differently. They're not stories that carry over, so it's really hard. Kingdom Hearts doesn't work because its story never wasn't supposed to make sense to begin with, so it doesn't make any sense to reboot it.
Kingdom Hearts was my number 2. Hit the reset on that and, like, let's start over and make
There's no reset button. You just put another spiky-haired anime boy into it. You put some Disney characters into it. That's all you gotta do. Just say something like, oh, he came from the darkness of the 348th parallel dimension, and the data crossed over with this, and Kingdom Hearts fans will be like, yeah, that sounds about right.
This is what I'm saying, though. We have an opportunity that we can make it, like, actually
no,
coherent. We're
no, it
from
won't.
zero.
Trust me, as someone who loves that series, there's no reset button that can help it. It won't work.
Chris, what about you? What's a franchise you think needs to hit reset and start over?
I'm actually torn between two, and I can't pick one, so I'm just going to quickly say both. Yeah. One is, you know what? They're both selfish. I actually would love both of these. So one of them is actually Metal Gear. I know they haven't made one.
Thank you. That was number 3 for me. Because number 3 for me.
I'm so it's so convoluted, and everything's kind of like, all right, now we're in the 60s. That's Big Boss. That's not this guy. Okay, cool.
That's Big Boss, is it the Little Boss, Liquid Boss, Liquid Snake? And it's like, what?
I didn't mention that one because I didn't think it was going to happen anyway.
Yeah. If they just made a brand new one.
It's actually happening. This is us just, willing things into existence.
Yeah, you're right. I did say Madden. We know that's not happening.
Yeah, like just bring back like Metal Gear Solid 1 or Metal Gear 1 or whatever they're going to call it. Because, I mean, even Metal Gear Solid was a continuation from NES games.
It has to be called Metal Gear Solid 1 because we already have a Metal Gear Solid.
Well, you could even at that point call it Metal Gear Black or just something different, like something different to be like this establishing this is its new story and just start over again.
For. That's what the one's for, Adam. You're not paying attention.
No, we're getting away from the ones.
Yeah, I want to name it 1 just so I can see.
If there's going to be a 1 next to something, it better be a name that doesn't exist yet.
Metal Gear Solid 1.1. We already have a 1.0. We got a 1.1.
I hate
There we go. So, yeah, Metal Gear Solid, just because get David Hayter again. He's Solid Snake, and it's just a story where he infiltrates the freaking place so that he can get like a thing. Like just start.
You're not getting David Hayter. You're getting Chris Pratt, and you're gonna like it.
Whoa! Hey, Metal Gear! Whoa!
And then the other one I had, because not as many people would think of this, but Sonic the Hedgehog, because I have no idea what the fuck's going on in any of those stories anymore. There's all these like new random animals all the time, and now they're in different dimensions and all this crap. The original Sonic games were just like there's an evil doctor who wants to capture animals and turn them into robots. So this blue hedgehog is going to stop him from ruining this perfect island of animals. And that's what it was about. That was like the first 3 games. It was glorious. And then Sonic became a knight, and then he found the 7 rings, and then he traveled to another world. I don't know. Crazy crap, and it sucks. So
Sonic doesn't need a reboot. Sega just needs to understand that Sonic the Hedgehog is not going to ever be a fully 3D open world game, and just make your side scrollers. And if you want to promote something else as your big like budget sinker, do that. Sonic is never going to be that for you guys. Just make really solid fucking side-scrolling platformers, and people will be more than happy with that.
Yeah.
We
And,
talked
like, Sonic,
we talked in the episode with Nav or Nave. I'm forgive my pronunciation for forgetting already, but we talked about
He's
this
not
before.
coming back
Like
anymore, I guess.
we need studios to just commit to just making like solid $40 games. Sonic can be Sega's solid S tier, for lack of a better term, because it's Sonic. S tier, like not full price game that's just going to be perfectionism as what it's good at. Instead, they just keep trying to invent a formula that just doesn't exist for it.
yeah,
Maybe that
And-
is a
and-
reboot, though.
probably. Because like Sonic's end up now he's in cities and he's fighting a silver hedgehog with Shadow the Hedgehog and he's a hedgehog
Although
and
to
there's
be
going
fair,
to
if
be
we're
more
using that
hedgehog.
logic, Sonic's been rebooted like every 2 games.
Like it's just supposed to be a little dude living on an island. He's like, hey, this robot's stealing all my animal friends. Turn them into robots. Fuck that. I'm gonna go free them and then punch the.
Isn't it crazy to think
Doctor
about how
in
the
the face.
movie has a better streak of being good than the games as for like the longest time?
To be
Yeah.
fair,
And
Sonic
And all
has
the
two-
movies need to do is make 2 good movies.
To be fair, I was gonna say Sonic has two movies, and that was how many good games they had. That was
So
the,
they
that
had
was
three-
the, that was their running
three
streak.
games.
Sonic,
well, I guess
Sonic
Sonic
the
wanted
Hedgehog
them
is
as well.
incapable of following up a good game. It just seems like they can't do it. As soon as one good one comes out, they're like, all right, how can we fuck up all this goodwill we just got back?
Let's
Yeah.
reboot it, guys.
Let's reboot it. Sonic is with a human girl. They kiss. He's in a city. Then the silver hedgehog comes. He has telepathic powers.
Sonic
put the-
1.1.
Like just run fast on an island and there's birds everywhere. Like that's it. That's the image. Yeah, so Sonic, but that's just because I'm so upset with all of those games sometimes. And Metal Gear, because that one actually financially and for us and the actual like Konami and everything makes sense for everybody. Like
Yeah,
just
I wouldn't want
want-
a reboot to go back to Snake. I think it'd be really interesting if they just cut it off. Because, I mean, technically in the story, like, Metal Gear Solid 4 was the end. So just keep going in the future with just somebody else. Like, I think it would benefit them to just... I know it would piss people off initially, but, like, I think they need to move away from Snake. Or if they're just going to make another clone, fine, whatever, do your thing. But, like, the David Hayter stuff, like, it's done. Like, people stop. Like, you're never going to get that back, especially with Kojima gone now. You're not getting this back the way you think it is. It'd be better if we just start anew and then just hope to God that they don't make another Metal Gear survive. That's it.
I disagree with you so much on that one because I think Metal Gear is a cool idea. And this is gonna be a hot take. I don't think it was in good hands with Kojima. Kojima has cool ideas, but doesn't.
Well, that's
really
why I'm
stick
saying
landing
is
when it comes
don't bring back Solid Snake then, because that's all people are going to associate with Kojima. Like start
that's what I'm
somebody
saying.
new with it.
Make it with the Solid Snake character. Go to like the island and find the Metal Gear and do all that, and then like make a coherent story and not get the, for lack of a better way, the zaniness of Kojima. And you could have a pretty solid, accessible
maybe
story.
I'm putting a little bit too deep into this, but I feel like that would be a really bad idea with the way that fans would treat it. Like I think but they're fickle enough maybe that they would just go back anyway if it gets good ratings.
But I think there's people like me who like I tried getting into like Metal Gear, and granted, I jumped in at 4, which was not the place to jump in. That is jumping in the deep end of a wave pool at peak waves. Not a good idea. But like there's people like me who've heard about this, like the solid, like the Metal Gear franchise. And there's like cool ideas there. I've seen them, but it's so convoluted with like 40-minute like anime like shows in between each mission. And I'm just like, this is really self-indulgent. And I don't necessarily think that.
Oh no, I don't. I'm
did
not
well
going to
for-
sit here and say that like the Kojima formula was perfect. I'm not coming at it as someone who has played all the games. I've only ever finished 5. So I've come in with not really liking the old games. I played 1 and 2, wasn't too big a fan of them. I'm saying this from the perspective of I know people who do not want to see another Metal Gear game without Kojima. So I imagine the downright vitriol that would happen if they were like, we're resetting the franchise, here's Snake, but not Kojima attached to it. I think they'd be more willing to accept a reboot if it was somebody else, just because at least the nostalgia attachment's not on them, so that they can come into it with a fresher pair of eyes potentially. But I mean, like I said, it's very possible that if the game ends up being like solid, for lack of a better term,
Hey.
you know, I'm sure they'd come back anyway. I'm thinking from a PR perspective, it might be best to distance Solid Snake. You can go with another Snake. Clones, we already exist in the world where there's clones.
You're already getting too convoluted on this, buddy. Like, this is what we're avoiding. We're avoiding the weird convoluted clones.
Then no snakes.
Double clones and robotic hands.
No snakes then.
No, we can have a snake. We just didn't use Gaseous Snake. So it's Metal Gear Gaseous, and there's Gaseous Snake, played by David Hayter.
Speaking of Solid Snake and Metal Gear, let's jump into the last topic of this week, because I can't deal with talking about clones and metal arms and robots and I was thinking for this we could do like, I don't want to do like a list of just all the stuff that we predict for the show, because I mean that's pretty, every podcast is doing that, and we are not that original, so we are going to be doing that, but I just don't want it to be a long drawn out thing. So what I was thinking we could do is I was going to break it up into 3 sections. So we're going to do a 3, 2, 1 thing. What I'd like to hear from you guys, and we're probably going to have similar ideas. I'd like to hear 3 games that you guys hope to see. And this could be long shots. This could be things that we've expect to hear from. But 3 that you want to hear, not necessarily that are going to happen. We're not doing like a predictions, like who's going to be right, because I don't know. 3 games that you want to see, 2 games that you think you'll see that you maybe don't care about. And 1 like shocking reveal, like this might be something that like, or like something that's like a prediction that's not necessarily tied to a game that we know about. So this could be like maybe a new IP that you want to see, or maybe like Sony announces a new handheld, like basically something that's just not like, hey, we're going to see this game. Like go for your long shot one. So I figure we can kind of do like, we'll all go through and we'll do our 3 games, and then we'll do our 3 games we want, 2 games that we think will be there, and then the big like random kind of guess. So does anyone want to go first, and what games that they want to see there?
Sure, I'll start.
Mm-hmm.
Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I absolutely need to see there. I know they're going to show stuff off about 16. I don't care anymore. I think actually even like Final Fantasy fans are like, guys, if you show another fucking 16 trailer, stop. We know the game's coming out next month. Cool it. We're already stoked. 7 Rebirth, I want to see a proper story and gameplay trailer that shows something, whether it's Gold Sauce, specifically Gold Saucer I'd like to see, but I want to see what they're doing, having Sid or Vincent, or I want to see somebody, seeing the new design, if they're changing anything up, including a voice. That's all I want really with that. I really don't care. Obviously a date I would like as well, but the most important thing is I just want to see more of what's coming up next. The real shot, well, it's not a shot in the dark so much, but like I want to see something Persona related, whether that means a remake of 3, which has been the rumor for a while, or a Persona 6 announcement. If I was leaning one way or the other, I want a 6 announcement before the 3 remake, but I feel like 3 remake is more likely. And then what I want to see beyond that, I want to see Wolverine gameplay, and I think that's probably going to happen, but I think that's a little less likely. I think they might show another cinematic trailer. I don't know if we get gameplay yet, but that's what I want to see, because we already know that it's almost a guarantee that Spider-Man's coming out this year. So I want to see the next thing now, because we know what Spider-Man's all about. Like, we don't need, if we get a gameplay trailer of Spider-Man 2, is it really going to wow us? No, we know what it is. I want to see something with what Wolverine's going to do. I want to see if it ends up being a little more violent. I want to see, what's that look like? Like, is it something more akin to like a Batman game? Or is it something similar to Spider-Man, but just maybe a little more cutty, a little more bloody? I don't know. But those are the 3 things I think I want to see the most in terms of like my personal stuff. Because I mean, the obvious things of like, a Chrono game, because they might be doing something with Square, is not happening. So I'm not going to go that far.
Cool. Chris, what about you? What are your 3 games that you want to see?
So mine actually kind of lines up with Adam's for the most part. I had Wolverine and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, or whatever the next one coming out is. Those 2, just because we did get very sparse little bits of information and like teasers basically for both. I think at this point, I don't even know if we have anything for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I want some actual meat and potatoes of those. I want to see those games, even if it's just a little bit of gameplay, just a little bit more. So it's kind of, I can get a feel of what to expect. I feel like I already know what to expect from the Final Fantasy VII one. We just had the remake. It's going to be more of the same, but still, I'd like to see that. And then for my 3rd one, I don't know if this is even the right category, but I would actually want a new IP. And I'm not even saying like it has to be like this big blockbuster, like going to destroy God of War kind of IP, but just like a new game from Sony.
Yeah, there's a few studios that could be, and I know Haven's been quiet for the 2 or so years that it's been around for. I think Fire Sprite's been I think that's the right studio. They've been working on something for like 4 years, and we haven't seen anything. So there's definitely an opportunity for something to come out that might be a
not even
nice
from like
surprise.
Not even from those unknown studios. I mean, like, it's been a year since Horizon came out. It's been it's been almost 2 years since Horizon came out. So like we don't know what Guerrilla's working on right now. I mean, I doubt that they had the full team working on Burning
That's why I kind of
Shores.
lean to those because I think it's more likely to see a new IP from those kind of studios than anything else, because I think some of the other studios are they're still probably more busy like finishing up patches and maybe even DLC for some things, like obviously Burning Shores being one example, but
that's a small team, I imagine. And same like
God of War. I don't know if I see like maybe there is a cinematic trailer from one of these studios, but like I can't imagine it being anything like super substantial yet.
Well, I just think like we haven't seen even like what Santa Monica's doing. Like they finished God of War a year ago.
The only thing I could think of is maybe something the Bend studio is working on, because it's been quite some time since Days Gone.
Yeah, I'd like something like, even if it's just like Gravity Rush style, you know what I mean? Like it's a Sony IP, but it's like, you know, smaller in scale.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
we're gonna get her like 5-minute indie showcase at some point.
Yeah.
No, I mean more like, because I think Gravity Rush is a PlayStation first party game, right? But it was like their portable like Vita and PSP game.
It's the B tier of the first parties.
It's a double A.
No shade on Gravity Rush, but like let's be real, it's not.
Not everything has to be the $80 epic.
Yeah, and I would like that. And if that isn't there, then you know what? Something like Guerrilla, but they're bringing back like Killzone or something. Like, is that what they had? Killzone.
Killzone. Yep.
Like one of those coming back. Like,
that was actually
like
going to be one of my reboot options before we established that it had to be something still running.
I never said it's still running. I was just saying like we're not putting a new entry. You could definitely
Killzone's kind of been dead for a while, so it didn't really count.
Nice.
True.
For me, I would like to see Ghost of Tsushima 2, or as I've always called it, Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're gonna get a cinematic trailer of that.
I think that's probably where they're gonna end it. If I
don't think so.
You don't think so?
No, we'll get to that when we get to the next stuff. But I don't think that'll be our closer.
I think that'll be the closer. Like that'll be the one more thing. Because I think, and
in my opinion, that's not a one more thing. Especially with the two options that are in my head, it's not a one more thing.
Ghost of Tsushima is not a one more thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fair enough.
Interesting debate. Interesting.
The other one I'd like to see, and I'm like 90% certain this is gonna happen. I want to see The Last of Us Factions, and I think it's at
the point that I'm like, no, it's not gonna be there, because every time we're like, oh, it's gotta be here this time, it just doesn't show up.
See, I think that's what they open with. I think that would be a good opener. Yeah.
It'll either be that or Spider-Man 2. Like, let's be honest, like it's one of those two things.
I think Spider-Man's the too obvious of a choice.
But sometimes the too obvious choice is the right choice. Let's also remember that too.
But I think
if you want to get people ready right at the start, you go with the heavy hitter that people already are ready for.
My logic though is that like Spider-Man is theoretically coming out in the fall. And so you want to put like a lot of time showing cinematic trailer, story trailer, and I don't think that you do that as a starting scissor reel kind of thing. Like I think you do like you start out with like someone running in the bush, like because then that gets people like, oh, what are we looking at? What are we looking at? Someone running in the bush, and then like you see them like draw a bow or something, and then you just hear like that that clicker like and like then everyone just loses their fucking minds because it's like Last of Us Factions. Also, I'm so glad I have this cold, like sore throat still going, because that clicker sound was amazing, and I wasn't.
That was spot on. I was like, how long have you been practicing that?
That's just insane. The sore throat talking, guys. It's the cordyceps virus.
Look, my shot in the dark is it not being there because it's funny to me at this point, because it's been it's gonna be at this one for sure, and it's been like what 3 years.
So like Ghost of Tsushima, I'd like to see Last of Us Factions. And the third one that's like a shot in the dark, I'd love to see a new IP as well from one of the big studios. But I think what we might see, and I hope to see, is Ubisoft's Star Wars game. I think Ubisoft has their big thing coming up in like a week or two from now, I think. And I think this would be perfect for them to do like a cinematic trailer, and then we'll have more information at our show. And then that gets people hyped for watching the Ubisoft show.
There's definitely going to be something like that where like they say more to come at our presentation. There's going to be at least one or two of those for sure.
It'll be a cinematic trailer, and I am totally fine with that because like rumors is that game is much closer than we think it is. I don't think it's this year, but I think it's probably.
I mean, I hope a lot of things are closer than we think it is because it's been so dead.
What are you talking about? I got like a backlog of games from this year.
We had this conversation last week. This is what you missed.
I know, and I was yelling at it with
your
burning throat.
burning sore throat.
Shut up, Adam. Don't make fun of my illness. I have disease. Or I had a disease. It's apparently cordyceps the way that clicker sound went.
I was going to say, you have a disease like in The Last of Us.
Sleep with like a door locked in a separate room from the rest of your family because you're turning later on today.
All right, 2 games that you expect to see. This isn't necessarily ones that you want to see, but what are the safe bets? If you were in Vegas and they're taking bets on this, what are the 2 that you're putting down that we are definitely going to get?
Okay, I'll take one off
the board because gameplay doesn't matter.
I'll take one off the board that you guys probably aren't thinking of, but Kojima has been very, very early posting. Death Stranding 2 is 100% going to be there.
I thought we've already gotten the trailer for that. Like we've already.
Well, I mean, like it's going to be there. Like unless you're talking like something that isn't announced yet. Well, that's a bit harder. That it's
no. Sorry, I misunderstood. Yeah, I'm with you. Death Stranding will definitely be there.
And then, I mean, I could go with the easy one and say Spider-Man 2. Is there another one? Oh, you know what? Stellar Blade, that Korean like anime titty like heavenly sword looking game that they had. That's definitely going to be there. They need the Wii population to be happy, so they'll put that one in there. There's my way out of the really obvious one.
Yeah, my answers are only very obvious, but I guess that's the point of the question. Final Fantasy 16 and Spider-Man 2. Like those are the 2 where I assume we're getting those 2. Especially 16. It's coming out at the end of June. It's like the perfect time to give the trailers that we've already kind of seen and even more gameplay, or I don't know, but I think they'll both be there.
Yeah, Final Fantasy 16 is just the safe bet because I don't think it's going to be huge because like it's almost here. Like I think people are at this point. If you're interested in it, you are or you're not. But I think it'll be there. Same as Spider-Man. But I think like my 2 like they're going to be there, but they're not the obvious ones. Is Death Stranding 2. We'll get like a gameplay trailer for it. And the second one I think is going to be the Final Fantasy remake. I think that one will get a sequel. Or like a trailer for it as well.
I mean, there's going to be a whole Square Enix section. I'm sure I would not be shocked if there's a whole block that's 16, 7 Rebirth, and even Kingdom Hearts 4 as well. So.
Oh God, I hope it's not Kingdom Hearts 4.
Oh, there's going to be there, and I'm going to be mad at that because I'm still not happy with the last trailer they put
out. Last one. This is like sort of a random like prediction shot in the dark thing. I'll go first on this one. For me, I'm going to make the prediction that there will be no big PlayStation VR titles announced. There will be PlayStation VR titles and it'll have like that, like also available in VR, but there's not going to be like that big first party VR game announcement. I think VR is dead on the vine and I don't think you're going to see anything at the showcase.
Can I counter you then?
Go for it.
It won't be first party, but PlayStation will announce Half-Life Alyx on the PSVR 2.
Wow. Now I'm going to be watching this tomorrow.
I will accept that.
Like
I will accept. Yeah, I'll do
intensity.
that. I'll take that. I'll take that action.
It's like that'll be that. I have a list of like shots in the dark. That's my big VR one because if they really want to get some attention to that device, that's going to do it.
I don't think they're going to try and get attention to that device. I think that device has been sent out to die. Ooh. So we'll see. How about we meet back this time? This time next week.
I'm ready for sometime around 6 or 7 o'clock Eastern tomorrow. Or I guess technically today, as this episode comes out, me putting in the Discord being like, there was a whole 5 to 10 minute section of PlayStation VR, you pleb.
I'm not. No. Whoa. I did not say there wasn't going to be no VR. I'm just saying it's going to be a bunch of like third-party indie like throwaway kind of stuff.
There's no way that they have a section without it being something major from their side.
Hey Google, set a reminder to message Alex tomorrow. Adam. Tomorrow at 6 to tell him to suck it.
He's so mad at me, he can't even get my name right.
He's calling you Half-Life Alyx.
Yeah, Alex in my head from there. All right, Google has an alarm set now to remind me to tell you to suck it tomorrow after the conference.
Nice.
And you're welcome. I did it after 6 o'clock when the alarm, like when you actually get a chance to watch, because I know you have to work.
Yes.
See, I'm courteous, but I will be telling you to suck it.
Well, I think it's pretty obvious that the way out there thing that's going to happen is PlayStation All Stars 2. I'm pretty sure it's coming back, and it's going to be an exclusive for the PlayStation Vita 2. It's going to be insane.
Bam.
Yeah,
just
like,
give him double
I don't
barrel.
know. Yeah, just double barrel. Yeah, like I don't know. Like a part of me does want just the chaos of like a new portable PlayStation being announced, just because.
Well, there's that rumors floating around that there are making one.
Yeah.
The
Actually, you know
streaming
what?
one.
That's the thing that's going to be out there, like that cloud gaming only or whatever. What was it? It was like
the PlayStation bad idea.
Yeah, the PlayStation bad idea. Like
the PlayStation streamer or just piss for short.
But it'll just be called the Badea.
The Badea. Yeah, like I think that gets like shown and kind of just like like people immediately just posting about that, like, because if it is what it sounded like it is, yeah, and they're probably pretty far in R&D that it's like, well, we should probably just release this. It's probably cheaper than just canning it.
And that's how we got VR2.
And that's how we got VR2. Yeah, no, I think it's that PS5 cloud version of like playing on the go, whatever it is.
I hope not, because no one's gonna buy that thing.
No.
You think that like I disagree that the VR2 is going out to die. That handheld, if it's a thing, is going out to die.
Well, like I mean, I tried VR, like not VR, sorry. I tried the Xbox cloud streaming on my phone when I got my GameSire, and it ran like garbage. Like it frame tearing and like low FPS, and like it wasn't good.
Yeah,
and I can't imagine that PlayStation
it's too
does
early
it
for
much
that.
better.
Yeah. And I've even tried the remote play like in the same room with the PS5, and it'll be like fine for a few minutes, and then all of a sudden it's just like pixelated, like 14p screen. I run into that sometimes when I'm doing the remote play.
The only thing I can see them doing is doing a sort of not a handheld, because did like the rumors ever confirm that it was a handheld, or was it just a streaming device? Because I could see them doing like a PS.
Well, I think the
TV
original
kind of
articles was mentioning like it was going to be a handheld, but I think it was all speculation.
Because I could see them doing like a PS Vita TV kind of thing where it was like, hey,
like just a
you have a
stream
PlayStation,
stick?
you have a PlayStation in your basement, you know, but if you're upstairs and you want to play video games, like, hey, instead of buying a whole other PlayStation 5, here's a little stream box. You hook it up. Doesn't have to be hooked up to the internet. You could just run an Ethernet cable through your ducts or something like that.
Yeah.
Work via Wi-Fi if you want, but like, hey, you can access PlayStation Plus, or you can stream your console anywhere else in the house using, you know, Ethernet or whatever. And I can see that being a thing.
I could definitely see that. It's basically the Steam Link box that Steam had come out with. Same idea, which was very successful. Very successful of a concept for sure.
Yeah,
so I could see that.
You do it $100, $150, and it becomes an add-on to your PlayStation. Because like, I'd love to play PlayStation 5 in bed, but like, I don't want to bring it up, and I don't want to spend another $600 on a console. Like,
yeah.
Or even if I have like, because I have digital, because I'm an old man, I don't have digital at the disc. But like, if Star Wars is in there and I can stream it upstairs, cool. Like, I don't care. Like, that's fine with me.
Yeah, if it could be plugged in through Ethernet, which would make sense, that would be. I would even think of getting that for my TV upstairs, because that would be pretty cool.
It would give it a fair shake anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My question for you guys, and this is just off the cusp, but like, because we haven't had a chance to talk about this, but like, how important do you think this conference is for Sony? Is this like a make or break thing, or is this just?
No.
I feel like for me, this is just.
I feel like Xbox is way more in the make or break scenario than Sony is right now. Sony just needs to not fuck up.
I think Sony is in not a fuck
they're not
up
they're not free and clear anymore, but I think they're more in the lines of like, just show us some cool stuff, you'll be off the hook, because we're gonna be busy looking at a few other people before you.
Well, I think the problem with Sony right now is that like we don't really know what they're working on. Like, the only thing we know is we've only seen Spider-Man, if I'm correct. No factions.
But the argument is also that that's their competitor's problem, but Sony's winning right now. So I think for
100%.
them, it's just show off good games. You're okay. Like, you're fine. I think people are far more antsy about what Microsoft's doing than Sony. I think people are just more like, Sony's been quiet for so long because they haven't been doing anything apart from State of Plays, that people are like, okay, so finally you're going to show us all the stuff you've been hiding from us for the last 12 months, right?
24 months.
I think it's more like Sony
years.
just needs to do good because they've kept the dark so long about all their stuff. So I think there's that way of looking at it, but I think there's not a hot seat to this. I think it's just a matter of we just want them to show us a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
I think everybody could turn on them very quickly, though. If the showcase has
if
like
it's like
nothing,
a state of play plus, it's gonna go really bad. But I don't think that's
people would get upset because I think it's June, right? It's like the E3 time, and if you come out to E3, even if you're in great,
they're also going first.
Yeah, they're going first. I mean, that could also be beneficial. Who knows?
Yeah, like to me, I would not want to be going first and put out a very short show. So I feel like they're going to come gunning. Maybe not. Well, I think maybe not super gunning because maybe they don't have enough to do it. But like, I don't think they're going to be hiding back anything that they know is going to get some buzz.
I think that this is a huge issue for them in that like it's not make or break. Like they're doing totally fine. But I think the idea is that we don't know what PlayStation's up to, and there's not much on the horizon. And we are pretty much in the like golden years of the PlayStation 5. Like, you know, we're past that first thing. We've kind of let go of PlayStation 4. We're not hindered. Like this is where we typically get the big bangers. And if they come out with this conference and it's like, hey, here's Final Fantasy 16. Hey, here's Spider-Man. Hey, like here's a bunch of stuff that like you knew was coming. Like we need to know what's coming down the horizon, like coming down the pipe.
So like for you, like what's the number that you're going to want to have of games that are like topped for you to think that it's a good conference? Is it 3? Is it 5? Is it 7?
I would say we need to have 5. And how it breaks down.
And we're talking like AAA, like big name, like something that's because like, I mean, sure, like a couple of indie games scattered throughout that look interesting or one thing, but it's not what we're looking at.
I'm saying we almost need to know what every studio is working on right now. Like, we don't need to come out and say, like,
I think the argument is like we want 5 games, whether we're interested in them or not, but like 5 games that the overall gaming community would go, that's a big deal.
I think what they need to do is they need to come out and say, hey, here's our game for the summer, fall. I know they do more. Like, here's our big game for 2023. Here are 2 games for 2024 that we're working on. And here's something to look forward to in 2025. So I would say like you need 1 gameplay like preview thing, and then you need 2 like cinematic trailers, maybe with a little bit of gameplay, but just like, hey, here's what to look forward to after Spider-Man. And then here is something that like early days. And so like here's what like Guerrilla's working on. But like I think we need to know like what Naughty Dog's working on. When we need to know what I mean, we don't need anything. We don't owe us anything. But like, hey, here is what Naughty Dog's working on. Here is what Insomniac is working on. No, Sucker Punch goes. So we need to know, I think, Naughty Dog, Sucker Punch, Bend, and probably Guerrilla. I think.
So I mean, realistically, if we were like putting Vegas odds on it, you want them to go. If you want them to hit the over, they got to hit over 4.5 before you think it's a good bet.
Yeah, I think if we knew like, I would say anywhere between 3 to 5 big ones. Like
I think even 5 is a pretty doable one for them. I think that's pretty fair.
I'm saying 3, not including Spider-Man. So 4 in total.
I think 3 if we're counting first party. I think 5 plus if we're talking overall, and I think they'll have that. I don't think that's too much to ask for. I think we'll see that.
Yeah. We just need to know what's coming down the next 2 years, because right now after Spider-Man, we know Wolverine's coming at some point. Last of Us Factions has been talked about, but like God of War's over. Horizon is kind of dormant right now.
Well, like, since you skipped me over, I can put a little insight on that with my one shot in the dark. So
go for. Oh, I'm so sorry. We did skip over you, Adam. Sorry. Go ahead.
But because I had a couple of ideas originally, because I was skipping through. Like, I'm almost certain we're gonna see some Metal Gear remake action.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure that's coming. I'm pretty sure that we'll see something about Silent Hill coming back as well. I have a feeling about that too. And then the other one that I had originally was I was thinking something to do with From Software, Armored Core notwithstanding. I think whether it's a Bloodborne remake or something of that kind, I would expect. The big one though, and this is why I was saying the Ghost of Tsushima 2 is not the here's one more thing. My shot in the dark is we're gonna get an Uncharted 5.
No.
That's my shot in the dark. You're going to get a cinematic trailer for a new game with the daughter. That's my big shot in the dark.
Interesting.
That's just Tomb Raider. Here's the thing.
I fail to see the issue. I do not think the crowd's going to say that when that trailer comes out.
It's a loop. Tomb Raider is actually a sequel to Uncharted. It just came out right before. Kind of like episode 4, 5, 6 came out before 1, 2, 3.
Okay, well, here's the difference. The Uncharted girl's probably going to be gay, so that's going to piss people off, but it's going to be slightly different from Lara Croft. There, I solved the problem. Okay.
Elena's last name is Raider. So that's why, the main character's name is Tomb Raider.
So in other words, she's going to get married to some girl whose last name is Tomb. It'll be spelled like Toom.
Her first name is Tomb. Her mother's maiden name is Raider. And then Tomb Raider just goes out and starts adventuring.
Yeah. This is exactly the canon that I'm aware
We've
never seen
and she'll also be Persian, so we get Prince of Persia in there somewhere.
Maybe Elena came from like old money. Maybe her family has a manor. We never saw that.
That's true.
She's out there making crappy documentaries about Nathan Drake. Like, no, like that screams to me rich kid money, that they have enough money. They're like,
and
Daddy, I want to go get a yacht.
Come out and we're going to just connect it to more games. And it's also going to be about, gods in the past. There's going to be an Abstergo level corporation going on in that thing. Just look, we're going to reboot Assassin's Creed, but we're also going to ruin something else you love, Kaylan, with that kind of storytelling.
Adam, we're trying to have a serious conversation here. If you're not going to take it seriously, I'm going to mute you.
Oh, and also there's going to be no Splinter Cell information again, just to kind of throw that back in, just because I know
you know what, Adam, I'm done with it. Adam, I'm done with your shenanigans. You're muted for 2 minutes. Can you please mute yourself?
He says the guy who has OBS running and can actually control that. Sorry, you Adam, can't cut me off.
Please mute yourself.
But yeah, like if that was my guess, like, because originally I was thinking like maybe they'll do something really off the cuff, like maybe they'll say here's the big changes we're going to make to PlayStation Premium, but we know they're not going to because we just saw the stats. There's more Premium accounts right now than Extra. They have no reason to change Premium as to what it is.
Now, here's the thing, though. I would say that those numbers don't matter until next year because everyone.
But that's why they're not going to say anything because they don't have to change
Exactly.
shit yet. That'll be the next showcase.
That'll be after everybody's upgrade from PS Now runs out.
I mean, I'm not disagreeing that there's going to be a Uncharted 5, and I think that's probably what Bend is doing because Bend, I think, is the only other studio who has ever made an Uncharted game, and that is the Uncharted Golden Abyss.
Oh.
So, I mean, it's possible, but I don't know if that's like their one more thing.
I'm just saying that if that was a one more thing, it would work.
Oh, no, you guys.
To me, the one more thing of this thing is either going to be an Uncharted or it's going to be that Metal Gear remake. That's my opinion.
I can see Metal Gear.
Or it's the PS5 Pro / PS5 Slim.
I can see a Slim. I don't think I can see a Pro yet because like people are just getting their hands on it. But I can see.
They better not do a Pro now. I think that would upset people.
We're already talking about new Nvidia chips. Let's not kid ourselves here. They 100% would do that.
And I would be a sucker and I would buy it day one.
I guess the other overall question 100%. Is going into this, do you think this is going to be like, if you were to guess, like, what's the grade you think this is going to end up being? I guess that's the last thing we can really do is like, with knowing what you think's going to be there and kind of your general vibes, like, how do you think this is going to go?
S tier, buddy. Oh, God damn it, Mike Mirroring. It's going to be S tier. I think that we're in a prime position where we don't know a lot that's going on. So it's set up hugely for like big reveals, big shocks, big surprises. We don't know what's coming, right? This is one of the few times, one of those perfect stores, we don't know what's coming. We don't know what people are working on. So it is very possible for us to just have a banger conference of surprise after surprise after surprise, big hit after big hit.
Yeah.
It's Sony. I could see them not doing that. I know
I'm personally leaning in the B+ A- range right now, just because I'm like, I don't know if they have enough to put it that far over the edge.
But
then again,
Adam.
Because we don't know anything, they may have that possibility.
You have to believe in something, Adam, and I believe
I do.
S tier conferences.
Yeah, I'm going in with extreme.
Oh, I did it this time.
Hope.
S tier.
Oh, you did it. You did it.
Hey, it is so backwards when I'm looking at it.
Come on, S for Sony, not S for Sonic. S for Sony, not S for Sonic. Yeah, no, I'm going in with extreme hope, where I think it's going to blow my socks off in the sense that there's going to be reveals where I'm like, even if it's like 2 or 3 games where I'm like, whoa, I was not expecting that. And I think that's what I'm hoping for. Sure, there's a part of my brain where it's like, it's Sony. They could possibly come out with not a bad conference, just a, like, oh, cool, nothing really there. But I'm going in with the hope. I'm going in where it's going to be an AA+. I'm going in.
I always kind of envision Sony as a company as like that emperor in like any Coliseum games where they just have like total disdain for the audience and they're just like, sitting there at top of like their like palace like terrace and just
they're
looking
just
down
laying
at the
there
peasants and be like,
with somebody feeding them grapes.
yeah, and they're just like looking down, like throw them a caucus, they'll be happy with it, and like just that'll shut them up. Like I always just kind of picture them up there, like total disregard for us as consumers. But
God, actually, you know what? Can I make an extreme shot in the dark? The
sure.
one that's like there is a 0.000. There's not enough.
So, Sony comes out and says, "Hey, guess what? We had a chat with Bill Gates, and he wrote a lot of zeros. We're out, guys."
No. Okay, I'll give you two. I'll give you like the one that I know is not going to happen. They're going to announce a major acquisition. That's not going to happen. If I'm going like super, this is what I want, and it will never happen. Is we're going to get a Kevin Butler commercial back. That's my huge one. It's never going to happen.
No,
but I want it
Fun Sony's dead.
Sony's dead.
Mm-hmm.
Fun Sony's dead. They graduated from school. They had to get a job. Now they cut their lawn on Saturdays in New Balance pant and New Balance shoes and aren't fun anymore.
Oh, that is them.
They're corporate. They're corporate Sony now.
Ooh.
I miss Fun Sony.
You know what though? Acquisition wise, I feel like Sony should acquire Ubisoft. And not because
I don't want them to. I
think it makes so much sense. It makes so much sense. Think about it. What kind of
I don't want that cancer near Sony. No.
What kind of game? No, but Sony's running it. They're just gonna once again suck the fun of Ubisoft. There's no more Dance conferences.
It's like as a Maple Leafs fan, I know curses too well. I don't want anything remotely near Sony that might mess with it.
You're looking at the wrong way. It's not that they're adopting.
I can't help it.
Cancer. No, they are the 20-year-old blonde-haired gorgeous girl who marries this 75-year-old guy with cancer, and they're just there for like the money once the company's dead, right? They're there. They're just like, hey, you got that Assassin's Creed third-person action adventure game. Just
also, yeah, that's what Sony needs: more open-world sword games.
You're buying the IP, Adam. You're buying the IP. You get Splinter Cell there. But get like.
At least if they buy Square, they at least buy a couple of interesting things that are different from their library.
How dare you, sir? How dare you?
Okay.
You forget the
what does Ubisoft has that Sony could use that isn't already one of like the 1,000 things that they have already going?
Splinter Cell.
Just Dance.
Thank you.
Just Dancing.
Yeah, you're right. They should bring back SingStar.
Technically, they also get Rabbids, which then is now tied to Mario. Boom! They now have Mario in their pocket.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, I think Nintendo would have something to say about your legal lines there.
I'm just saying, like, Ubisoft
and also, no, they don't need Splinter Cell. They're about to announce a Metal Gear remake.
But you know what, though?
They could have both.
How dare you? How dare you? Splinter Cell is far better than Metal Gear. But like, if you think about it, like the IP, like the games that Sony makes are great third-party action adventure games. That's what Ubisoft has done as well. You take Assassin's Creed, one of like the biggest franchises in modern video game history. And you can make the argument, oh, it's not good anymore. Shut up. Everyone knows who Assassin's Creed is. Like, you talk to anyone who plays video games, they know. And it's hard. Find a gamer who has not played a single game and you will not find it. You'll find a bunch of liars.
Okay,
you take that and take.
Do I need Sony with Assassin's Creed? No. Do I need them with The Crew? No. Do I want them with Watch Dogs? No. Do I want them with Tom Clancy right now? No, not really. Do I want them with Riders Republic?
Whoa, back the fuck up, sir. If you get there, we want to talk about something that Sony doesn't have. They do not have first-person shooters. You get them in.
Killzone back, that solves that problem.
They start making Rainbow Six and they start making it properly again. Or you get
then they should just bring back SOCOM.
Yeah, I don't think SOCOM has the same thing. If you said, hey, Rainbow Six is back and you're doing like the tactical like SWAT thing, I think people would go for it.
Yeah.
Look, I'm saying this admittedly as someone who could not give a fuck about Ubisoft right now. There is almost nothing in their current library that is active that Sony needs.
But Sony would do well to have it, especially
but I think just having
Microsoft.
You're buying the IP, right? You're getting Prince of Persia. You are getting Far Cry. You are getting Splinter Cell. You are getting Assassin's Creed. You are getting The Division. You are getting Rainbow Six. You are getting Ghost Recon. Like, there's a lot of IPs that have a lot of potential that, like, sure, Sony can make their own knockoff version.
But if I'm picking a studio for them to get, Ubisoft is not at the top of my list because it basically interferes with a bunch of the properties they already have.
But you know what Ubisoft is that Square Enix isn't? Cheap. Ubisoft is not doing well right now.
I don't think that's true, actually.
I don't know. They're publicly traded.
I'm
Sony can just buy
honestly,
them,
I'd be
like,
willing to
almost
bet that
without
Square
them
is a
knowing.
cheaper buy.
I disagree. You've got Square Enix coming off the high of Final Fantasy VII. I think 2016 is gonna be big. Forspoken, like they're just knocking banger after banger after banger. And yes, I'm being
You did
sarcastic
not
about
just say Forspoken
No,
and
I'm being
banger in
totally,
the same sentence.
I'm being totally facetious there. But like Square Enix is arguably, I think, at one of the best points they've been in the last, 20,
I still don't think they're worth
15
more than
years.
Ubisoft, though.
I disagree.
Why don't they just buy both?
Why not both? Little like the old Apostle commercial.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, they could
check right
get
now.
the JRPGs, the shooters, and the open worlds, and then boom,
I'm
they
trying
own
to
it.
see what they might be worth.
If I were to buy Ubisoft, how
Ubisoft
much
right
would
now
I need?
is worth 25 euros a share.
Okay, you may actually be right, but I'm also going by numbers that are kind of hard to tell because it's saying that
What's the conversion
Ubisoft
of
has
a
a
Japanese?
market cap of 3.68 billion. Square has a market cap of 6.09 billion, which is honestly surprising to me if that's true.
It'd be just money
like-
in the bank, like
Well,
Nintendo. Like,
my
a lot of
thought
it
process
just-
is how bad has Ubisoft been doing if it's only 3.89? Because with the
Dude,
amount
well,
of
think about it.
licenses they have, that's shocking to me.
Yeah, but those licenses don't come cheap, right? And you
Yeah,
think about it, like
they spend a
when was-
lot on those games.
when
I
was
still
the
think the
last
likelihood would be
banger?
way more of Square just because of Japan, but either way, like
Oh, it
I
makes
think if I
sense.
still had a choice,
Sure,
like Ubisoft is maybe like the third or fourth option to me.
I'm not saying that Ubisoft is the best studio to get. I'm saying Ubisoft right now presents the best value to get in the sense of cost to what you're getting. And I don't think like Ubisoft also has amazing like talent. Like they make broken games, but like their games aren't
Look,
bad.
I'm
Like
sure that the
they have
ship could
skill
be
people.
righted. I just don't want that ship.
See, I think it makes sense. I think you buy it for the IP, you buy it for the skill. You shut down Ubisoft, you basically just do an asset acquisition. You get the people, you get the IPs, and you just amalgamate those and make a couple new studios, and you start just turning out the games that people really want.
We'll
Splinter
play
Cell.
Red and Pest. Let's defer to Chris. I'm sure his answer is he just wants both.
That is literally my answer because Square and Sony make sense. Japan, they've already had a relationship forever. Final Fantasy and PlayStation just go together. Plus,
I mean, if
they
I was
got
actually going to put it like my number one is Capcom, and then 2 would be Square, and then 3 is probably Ubisoft.
I put Square
Adam-
ahead of Capcom for some reason.
Adam, you have to change the layout of this show. The fact that like on our thing, it's like me, you, and then Chris. You need to put Chris between the two of us. 'Cause
Yeah,
he's
I gotta be in
always
the
just,
middle,
like,
and I just gotta put my hands out like this at all times. Like, whoa, wait, you're both right. You're both
both
right.
parties make equally compelling arguments.
No, it's true because if they bought Ubisoft, I think
All right,
that's just
fine.
good.
Well, nope, that's the wrong frame. Oops.
Don't do it right now. Jesus, don't break the show.
What? It's fine. Nobody. If you're on audio, nobody has to see it.
Yeah, but if
We
they
got
bought
so
Ubisoft,
See, look. If Chris goes away, that's
this
fine.
is weird. I've been erased. Oh
It's fine.
my
There.
god, I'm back.
Here we go.
It's all good. There we go. Ignore the fact
Yay.
that I'm clipping in the frame a little bit, and ignore
Yeah,
the
I'm
fact that
halfway
my
in.
names still don't
Adam
match.
now.
Whoa. Hey, look, I'm reaching out and I'm touching. I'm in. Chris,
Oh
I'm in your
yeah, I
box.
didn't notice that.
I'm in your
Oops.
box.
Sorry, get out of the house.
It's like Hollywood Squares.
What's happening? What's happening? What's happening?
Ah, it still works.
No,
I
it's too
give
far.
up.
No, you're in mine.
I give up.
This is why we don't do it live. Here, wait. No, go back.
Nope,
Adam,
it's
go
too
back.
late.
Go back. No, go back. I was
Too
doing a
late.
high five. Ah.
It's
We got to
still
stop the
happening.
shenanigans for the audio podcast, folks.
Oh man, we got so off track here, guys. I think that's a good.
That
spot for
doesn't
us to wrap
happen
up.
on the show ever.
No, we are strictly professionals here.
Wait, this is a show?
We've been. When did we start recording?
Actually, just so you know, I didn't hit the button.
God damn it! All right, ready to start in 3, 2, 1.
Let's do it all
Oh,
over again.
Adam, you need to cut it right there. You need to cut it right there. And then like finish like this week's episode. Cut it at the end of that 3 and just
I
leave it
can't.
like
I
that.
can't do it. Let's actually end the show proper. Plug the socials, you son of a bitch. Let's get on with it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know it. We've got Discords, we've got Twitter. Reach us out there. If you want to send questions, do it. Like linktr.ee /PixelPlay Podcast. reach out to us there. We'd love to have you there. And I'm really disappointed that I had to do this because I'd rather just cut it out on 3. So let's hit the record button in 3, 2, 1.